Nice to meet you. Welcome to Pepe's production. I am Pepe, starring me Pepe, and this is our history final. Yes. Hello. 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 I am John Rao. I am famously known for my tobacco growing in Virginia and be the first one to cultivate it.
Okay, what other enterprises did you do?
Besides tobacco growth, I also did lumbering for a short amount of time, glasswork, and I also did soap and ash work.
Why do you think Jamestown failed?
I think Jamestown's failed because of three main reasons. Them being the people were lazy, the illnesses, and starvation.
Okay. What illnesses?
Thanks to the contaminated water that the people were drinking, we got infected with dysentery and with several amounts of flus. Dysentery is a disease where your intestines, right here, your intestines get inflamed and then you poop out everything, including organs.
Okay. Why were the people so lazy?
Ooh, the people were lazy. That's a good question. Good question. The reason we went to Jamestown was because our king was a tyrant. He wanted us to do everything he wanted to. He was strict. He wanted to control our religion, and that was not good with us. No bueno. No good. No good. So what we decided to do was leave England and go to America. Wow. We went to England because of we went to America because we wanted to look for wealth, and we also wanted money and freedom from the tyrant. And one of the reasons Jamestown's failed was because the people were lazy and they weren't comfortable or weren't used to manual work. So we wouldn't grow our plants and we wouldn't have enough to eat. People would rather starve than to do manual work.
Okay.
Next question, please.
What was the relationship with natives?
Oh, yes, natives. Where do I begin? When we first got there, our relationships with natives was storied. Very, very tenseful. We didn't know if they were friend or foe. We didn't know if to trust them or not because of their previous experiences with other Europeans and the way that they would manipulate the poor natives. But once we got to know them and once we got to see that they were nice, calm, and chill, we decided to make the first Thanksgiving for helping us, the people of Jamestown, survive for such a long time.
Okay. Why do you think tobacco was important?
Ooh.
Or is important?
Excellent question. So, tobacco. Tobacco was a great, great, great thing. Tobacco was probably the turning point when it comes to Jamestown because we would plant tobacco and it would grow. And then we would plant tobacco and it would grow. It was really good with growing in the soil that we had in Jamestown and the water. And this was good because we were one of the first nations to use tobacco to gain money.
Tell me about your wife.
Ooh, my wife. Mwah, mwah, love her, if she was still alive. So, so I first married my wife when she was 18 and I, John Ralph, was 29. She was the daughter of their chief of their tribe. And she is one of the primary reasons that we got so comfortable with the Native Americans.
Okay.
See.
What was the turning point?
Ooh, the turning point. The turning point of Jamestown, many people say it's because of me. Because of me, I brought the tobacco to Jamestown. I planted it and grew it. And that's when the people from Jamestown first found what they were looking for years ago. We were looking for wealth and to have money, and with the plantations from the tobacco, we were able to afford the money because of the tobacco that we grow. Yep.
All right. Thank you, John Rolfe.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Hello, my name is Susan B. Anthony. I'm a women's rights activist and an abolitionist in the 1850s.
What religion were you raised into?
I was raised to be a Quaker. I believe in equality for everybody. I believe that everyone should have equal rights no matter who you are or where you come from. It doesn't matter.
What did you do to help abolish slavery?
My house was used as a share house, and it was in Rochester, New York. And I did this so that everyone had a safe place to be and that everyone wouldn't feel scared being out what they were doing. I was an agent. I went undercover, and so my other agents who were also undercover needed to be at my share house in Rochester.
What league did you form for women's rights?
Myself, Lucy Stanton, and Elizabeth Caddy, and I also formed the National Loyal Women's League, and we all had the belief that women needed equal pay and equal rights, and it was important to us, so we formed this league together. And though later Lucy did part from us, she didn't want to be in our club anymore, but that was years later. It's fine now, but she was really important to us.
When teaching, what inspired you to take some form of action?
So when I was teaching, I found out that men made $8 more monthly. I found that unfair because, like I said, I believe that we should all have equal pay and that we needed to have the same rights as everybody. So I decided to make a lot of speeches on that. I performed it in front of crowds, and it was one of my biggest beliefs back then.
For the 3 weeks that you did speeches in the early 1870s, what did you deliver them about?
I delivered them about abolishing slavery. I did it about women's rights, and it was a lot of fun to be able to give speeches to everybody. But for those 3 weeks, I was undercover, also running from the cops because of a riot that happened in Rochester. And so I had to run for those 3 weeks and perform. I had been beaten a few times. I had been confronted. I had been, there was a lot of times where enemies came for me, and I didn't appreciate it, but I'm glad to get the word out there.
Of course. Tell me about your time as an agent.
As an agent, I was in the American Anti-Slavery Society. I was there for 5 years, and there were a lot of mobs and a lot of riots, but I held my own anyways, as it was important to me. I was undercover with a lot of women, and I got a lot of backlash from men because they didn't believe I should be working as agents as they were, but I believed that women could do any job that men could, and it was important to me in that way.
How did this kind of work make you feel?
It made me feel upset that men thought that they could have everything, and I needed women to have more jobs out there. I needed them to be paid more and to feel like they were embedded in society as men were.
What initiated these feelings of needing to help people?
I needed to help people because I knew a few women who were homeless or who were broke because of their jobs not paying very well. I knew that men thought they could rule the world, and I think that is false. I think that women should be able to step up when they can and do the most because they deserve it as much as men do.
What part did women play in the Civil War?
Women did a lot of things in the Civil War. Most of it was undercover because they weren't known to fight in the wars, especially in the Civil War. It was new for women to want to fight. Some of them dressed up as men. Some of them were spies, like I was. Some of them did ride with other men if they agreed that women could do this. So, like if they had a best friend, and they would sneak them in, and they would pretend to be males, and they would fight in this war. I think it was really important that they did that because if not, I think men would still have that idea that they were the only ones who could take over, but it's very much proven that women can fight as strong and be as strong as men in any given situation.
Hi, I'm Alexander Hamilton, and I was a military leader, and I was the first U.S. Secretary.
Okay. First question. Why are you considered a self-taught lawyer?
I'm considered a self-taught lawyer because I never actually went to law school. So I took the bar exam, and I passed it by reading every single book of law that I could find, and then I moved to New York to become a lawyer.
What was your life like as a child?
My childhood was very rough. We were very poor, and I was raised in Nevis. At the age of 11, my mom died, and then my dad abandoned us when I was recently born. That left me and my brothers to be very poor, and at some points we were homeless. And I had to fend for us, and that didn't always work out.
Why did you move to New York?
I moved to New York to go to school at King's College. I wanted to study mathematics, science, philosophy, history, many things like that. But I also ended up becoming a part of the revolution.
Why did you need to marry a Schuyler sister?
I needed to get an upgrade in status, and I needed more money. So marrying a Schuyler sister, which was a very prominent family, led me to be able to have the money I needed to do all the things that I wanted to do. And then the status allowed me to be around the people that I needed to be around. I didn't really care which Schuyler sister I met or which Schuyler sister I married. I just needed to marry one of them because I didn't really trust any of them anyways. The money is what allowed me to create my name for myself, and I wanted to be glorified.
Why did Aaron Burr hate you?
Me and Aaron Burr were going for two separate roles, but I wanted to be in battle. I wanted to create a name for myself, and he wanted to be the writer of it all. But Washington hired me as a writer before he hired Burr, because he said that I was very good at writing and that I needed to stay by his side. And that made Burr really angry, and he resented me a lot for it. I was a Federalist and he was a Democratic Republican, so our views collided a lot of the time. I wanted a strong government and he wanted strong state rights.
What happened during your duel with Aaron Burr?
So in my duel with Aaron Burr, we were set to meet at a certain time because our spokespeople couldn't figure out the solution to themselves. I said some things in some papers that really offended him, and he wanted me to apologize, and I never did. And so in our duel, we were fighting, and then I was mortally wounded and I died. And after my death, Aaron Burr was wanted for murder.
What was your battle like?
My battles were what I would say the best part of my life. I wanted to be a part of everything I wanted to take on. A lot of the times I wasn't allowed to, but for some battles I was allowed to lead them into battle, and I always sought out for those opportunities so that I could actually be a part of it versus just writing about it. There was battles like the Siege of Yorktown that I was a huge part of. People liked me because I was a leader. I could convince my troops that we were going to make it, and I convinced them that we were all going to be okay. And then I had many strategic ideas, like the attack on the British overnight.
Tell me how you first met Burr.
I met Burr one late night when I found out that he was going to King's College and I wanted to go to King's College. I was ambitious, I was 19 years old, and I wanted to create a name for myself, and I wanted to do what he did. He told me that I needed to move in silence. I needed to do what needed to be done without creating problems in between myself and other people. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I like to be out loud. I want my opinions to be heard, and I wanted to make a difference immediately. And so during this time, I went to do speeches in New York. I'd speak out against people who didn't have the same opinions as me, and this is what ultimately started my life in law.
Hello, my name is Andrew Johnson, and I am reading for Best President Ever. Oh yeah.
Okay. Where were you born and how was your childhood?
I was born in Tennessee, and I was like, my parents were like really poor, which was really lame. And they, they just never really gave me anything. Like, my dad was a tailor, which is also lame. And, just all he really gave me was the tailoring profession. And that's all. I got the rest of it all by myself because I am just that good. That was my childhood.
Okay. Were you with the Confederates or the Union during the Civil War?
I was with the Union because I knew from the start that the Confederates would lose, because I just know things like that. And they, just staying with the Union was just the better choice. And it made me closer to AB, and that's why AB chose me. So, yeah.
Why did you run with Abe Lincoln?
He said that he wanted to present North and South together, for after the Civil War, just so he would get more votes. But I personally think it's because I am the best ever. I was a senator, but it's just because I'm so good. I cannot be beaten. There's no vice president that's better than me. So that's why he chose me, in my opinion. Yeah.
Did you sign any bills into law?
No, I didn't sign one. That is my Guinness World Record. Not one bill signed into law. Because, Congress back then was just, it wasn't what it is now. And it just, it had no good things in it. And it had no me, obviously. So, it just needed more zhuzh. So, I just didn't sign any of those bills. I vetoed them and sent them back. And I made them re-vote on it because I just had to make sure they were doubly sure, because I obviously wasn't endorsing anything they were doing. Nothing was good.
All right. Andrew Johnson, why were you impeached?
They say it was because I tried to fire the Secretary of War. I did try to fire him, but that was just because he was the worst. And I could just find someone better. One of my good people could go there, but they passed this 10-year of office thing, and then once I challenged that, they said that I had to be impeached because I was a bad president. I wasn't a bad president. I was a great president, but I just guess they just didn't see that. I was a great president. And then they said it was because I didn't sign any bills to law, and because of that whole thing with the war, and because of that, I pulled out of Reconstruction. But that's because Reconstruction could solve itself. I don't have to do any of that. Reconstruction could solve itself.
All right. Did you run for re-election?
No, I don't need to take that office again. I am just gonna go down in world history as the best president ever. I just don't have to kick them while they're down. Why would I kick them while they're down if I'm just the best president ever? And, I didn't run for re-election, but years later I got elected to Senate. So it just shows that, you're never down and out. You're just down sometimes. So you could just get better. Just get better at your life, I guess. I don't know. Also, do you want to know about when I was, how I got to be vice president? Or do I have to make these questions for you? Because I'm just so good.
Keep pushing.
All right, well, I'll tell you. So first, I was a tailor with my father. And that profession wasn't doing it for me. It just wasn't getting anything because it was just so meaningless. I had no power. I had no nothing. I I had no time for that nonsense. So I then became like this little helper to the mayor just to get my way up there. That guy was stupid. That guy was a terrible mayor. Then I was the mayor and the governor, and then I got up to Congress, and it was good.
Go.
Am I allowed to talk now?
Yes.
Hi. My name is slave number 207. I am a field slave.
Where were you born?
I was born in West
okay.
Central Africa. Birthed straight into the fields of cotton, and I will die in the fields of cotton.
How was your childhood growing up?
As a child, I had many hopes and dreams. They were crushed. Through the days, clothing wasn't very available to us, as some of us would be in the fields naked with no clothes. My brothers and I were constantly separated from our parents to different plantations, as we had no one to look up to.
What work do you do?
Splinter after splinter, scrape after scrape, beating after beating. I work hard to plant, tend, and harvest cotton, sugar, rice, and tobacco. And that was on the good days. The harder days, I clear fields, cut wood, repair buildings and fences.
What kinds of things make your workday harder?
Well, when Master brought the cotton gin, others thought our days got easier. But every now and then it got harder.
Why is that?
You know, as it requires more of us to work and longer hours. As we got tired, we have no rest. We have more surveillance over us to ensure maximum productivity. When I thought I had at least my brothers, they were gone. My brothers were sold off to a different plantation, and I haven't seen them. That was 2 years ago. I'm all by myself now.
How does being alone affect you?
You know, mentally, pretty good. So again, mentally, living without my brothers really affected me, but it made me happy in some ways because they were always having me do their dirty work. They'd always have me picking their plantation pouches of cotton. Anyway, we were punished if we didn't keep up with the amount of production we had to do each day. We would get whipped. It was the most common source of punishment we have right now. It'd be hard to show you, but I have plenty of scars and open wounds.
What was your first day in the field like?
Well, my first day I was really young. I was crawling around. I had dirt in areas I didn't want it. The cotton made me feel like comfort because it was so soft and warm.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. You're safe to go now.
Am I?
Get back to work.
Hello, I'm Charles Christian Finney. I am a priest in New York during the Second Great Awakening.
Okay, first question. When were you born and where?
I was born on August 29th in Warren, Connecticut.
What made you switch from law to preaching?
My studies in monarchs led me to Bible studies, which made me learn the Lord, and it made me want to preach the Lord to my fellow people.
Okay. When did you become a professor and what did you teach?
I became a professor in Ohio for theology.
How long were you president?
I was president from 1851 to 1866.
Where did you become a professor and what did you teach?
I became a teacher in Oberlin College in Ohio. I taught a lot about educational rights, women's rights. I think everybody deserves an equal education because
What did you do for the abolition movement?
I preached about how slavery was bad and how I didn't believe in it. It was wrong. Slaves should not have been a thing. It was wrong. It was not godly. The Lord made us all equal. Women, men, blacks, whites, all of us were equal. And our education should have been equal, just the same as our rights to eat, our rights to go places, everything about slavery and the women's rights movement. I think it's just wrong how we treated blacks, and it was wrong how we treated women. But most of all, I think that I preached a lot about slavery and how it was wrong in the meetings that I held with my church. And I tried to get a lot of more people to understand that it was wrong and that we shouldn't have done it.
What was your preaching style?
Well, I believed in free will a lot. Sinners are gonna sin, and I try and make them see that God is the right way to go. I think that people are gonna sin no matter what. Like, if they want to, then they're going to. But I used to try and make people understand the way of God, and I like to make people learn the way of God. But I also try and make my church meetings as like pro-choice as possible. It's honestly all free will. Like, God is the Lord, but a lot of people have problems believing that, and that's okay, you know. There is a lot that goes into my meetings. We go and we sit down and we pray and we do worship, and then we have all seats where everyone sits together, and then we have like brunch or lunch or something. There's always food, prayer. You know, it's a community thing. Yeah.
How do you consider yourself?
I consider myself the father of revivalism. I've converted a lot of people to my church, and after so long of preaching and teaching, I ended up becoming the president of my college in Ohio, and I still preach in my church to this day. Yeah, I find a lot of lost souls that just want help, learning the Lord. Yeah.
No, I'm good. No, I'm good. Okay,
Hello.
I'm Samuel George Morton.
Okay, tell me about yourself.
Well, I strongly believe in polygenesis and in the social hierarchy that whites are the top and blacks are the bottom. Also, like the natives fall in between. Whites are the top because they have the biggest space in their head to have a brain, therefore they're the most intelligent. Black people have the smallest, therefore they're the dumbest. Yes, they are. We keep them at the bottom. I also published a book in 1839 called Crania Americana, which used my cranial measurements to further explain my point.
Okay, what else were you associated with in your beliefs?
I was associated with Louis Agassiz, who we shared notes back and forth, and he also attended one of my collection of my cranial measurements, which further helped prove polygenesis because he published those works. Also, Josiah Knott and George Glidden both co-authored their book about mankind, which involved my measurements and my cranial measurements that also supported how black people are inferior to the white man.
Okay, how would you describe how the general public viewed polygenesis?
Well, the people that supported me, the good ones, there were the slaveholders and also the segregationalists who supported my ideas that black people are inferior. And so weird that they did that, because like slavery is like good, because they're not smart enough to have like teaching jobs for like stuff like that,
Okay, alright, why are African Americans inferior to the white Americans?
Because their brain capacity is less than the white man's brain capacity. Therefore, we have to take all the smart jobs, and they take all the manual labor. So them taking subservient jobs would actually benefit them because it wouldn't hurt their brain too much.
Alright, what is your opinion on those who oppose polygenesis?
Well, polygenesis is a very well thought out scientific, perception on how humans originated, which would be very foolish to oppose it because it's very scientifically proven and it has been backed up by many other scientists.
How would you describe how the general public viewed polygenesis?
Well, personally, I feel like the slaveholders and the segregationalists were on my side on how black people had lesser intelligence than the normal white man. So they obviously supported my idea. The people that opposed my idea were abolitionists, such as Frederick Douglass, who believed that black people are equal to white people, and in some areas even better.
How do African Americans benefit from polygenesis?
They benefit because since their brain is smaller than the white man, then they need to do subservient jobs because those jobs do need to be done, and those jobs do run our country. So they do provide in our country. They aren't citizens though, because they don't qualify mentally, because they can't mentally, like they don't have the mental capacity for that. They, like if they were to do jobs such as teaching or like any other white collar job, I feel like they would struggle.
What is your opinion on those who oppose polygenesis?
Well, personally, I feel like it's foolish to oppose a theory that is such scientifically proven that it is basically human truth, sense of how much evidence there is within human anatomy that backs up polygenesis, specifically how whites are at the top and blacks are at the bottom. So, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Next question.
What are your thoughts on Andrew Jackson?
Great guy. Kind of a hillbilly president, but believes in polygenesis. So great guy.
Really? Okay.
Great guy.
Okay, I've got one last question for you. Some of our viewers have been coming at us with this. If polygenesis is 100% scientifically proven, then wouldn't that allow Andrew Jackson sleeping with the 14-year-old Sally Hamming's slave to be considered as bestiality?
I didn't agree to that question.
What?
I didn't agree to that question.
Really?
Yeah, that's not the question I agreed to.
Are you sure?
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do this. Cut the cameras. Cut the cameras.
It's right there in the script. She agreed. What?
No, cut the cameras. Cut the cameras. Poorly edited, like poorly, like.
As long as they can understand.
Welcome to the bloopers. Hello.
What did you do for the abolition movement?
Because they are naturally born.
I don't have an answer to
a
that.
smaller skull.
Like, actually, enough knowledge to do such a job.
Okay, sorry. Okay, we're gonna cut here. And I'm gonna...
It's wrong to exclude people for nothing at all.
Why did you need to marry a Scotch-yearler? I can't say that word. What is that word?
Hi, my name is slave number 207.
Where were you
I am a
born?
Restart.
Switch from law to prejudice.
No, mentally. Pretty good.
Okay. What made you snitch from? Oh,
We would get whipped.
Hey there.
My meetings.
Actually,
How do you think how do you think African Americans benefit from polygenesis?
how long were you president?
I was president from 1951 to
Okay.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Dude, the slave left already?
There was a slave?
Yeah.
In this chair?
In that chair.
Yeah.
Can I get a new chair?
A new chair.
Yeah, new chair.
We're low on budget.
No, I'm getting a new chair. How about this one? This one looks cozy. I'll get this chair.
Okay.
There was no slave in this chair, right?
Shoot, did sit there.
And there?
Yeah.
And there.
Yeah.
I'll just, it's fine, I'll just stand.
You're gonna stand?
Okay.
Oh?
I don't want to touch that. Can you move that production? Can you move that?